By the time I realized what I'd done, it was already in the group chat. Every name on that list had seen it, and Dara hadn't come back to her desk since. I need to back up, just a little. I've worked at this company for 4 years, long enough to know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. Long enough to know that salaries are the thing nobody talks about, not at lunch, not at happy hour, not ever. It's an unspoken rule. The kind that doesn't need to be written down because everyone just knows. Dara started about 18 months ago. She came in confident, sharp, with a portfolio that honestly made the rest of us look like we'd been coasting. Which, if I'm being honest, maybe some of us had been. She and I sat next to each other. Our desks faced the same window, the one that looks out over the parking structure, and beyond it, a sliver of sky if the light hits right. We ate lunch together most Tuesdays. She told me about her long-distance relationship with a man named Theo, and I told her things about my family I don't usually say out loud. I liked Dara. I want to be clear about that. This isn't a story about someone I wanted to hurt. About 6 weeks ago, I was helping our manager, Karen, clean up a shared drive that had gotten completely out of control. Files from 3 years ago, folders nested inside folders, documents nobody could remember creating. Karen gave me access to a section I'd never been in before, the administrative folder. He was on a call. He just said, "Start wherever, I'll be right back," and left me to it. I wasn't looking for anything. I want you to believe that. I was just opening files to check if they were still relevant, still needed. And then I found a spreadsheet compensation review, Q2, current cycle, and I opened it before I understood what it was. There were names, columns, numbers next to each name. I should have closed it immediately. That's the honest answer. I should have closed it and told Karen, "Hey, there's something in here you probably didn't mean to give me access to," and moved on. That's what I should have done. But I didn't close it immediately. I read it. I read all of it. And when I got to Dara's row, Dara, who'd been there 18 months to my 4 years, I sat with what I was looking at for a long moment. Because the number next to her name was higher than mine. Not by a little, by enough to matter. By enough that I could feel something shift in my chest, something that wasn't quite anger but was adjacent to it. Something small and hot and ashamed of itself. I closed the file. I went back to the cleanup. Karen came back from his call and we talked about nothing in particular, and I went home that evening and made dinner and told myself it was fine. I was fine. It didn't change anything. But I kept thinking about it. Tuesday came around and Dara and I got lunch and she was telling me about a weekend trip she'd taken with Theo, and I was listening and nodding, and somewhere behind my eyes I was doing the math, over and over. The years I'd put in. The late nights. The projects I'd carried when we were understaffed. And Dara, talented, absolutely, no question, but 18 months. I told myself I was just going to mention it to one person. Just Renata, who's been there almost as long as I have and who I trust. I wasn't going to make it a thing. I was going to say it the way you say something you're still processing, quietly, between two people, like sharing a strange dream. We were in the small kitchen off the back hallway. It was a Thursday, maybe 3 in the afternoon, and the room smelled like burnt coffee and someone's leftover lunch. I said Dara's name and a number, and I watched Renata's face do exactly what I knew it would do. That should have been enough. That should have been where it ended. But Renata mentioned it to Marcus, and Marcus mentioned it to someone else. And somehow, I still don't know exactly how the geography of it worked. It ended up in the team group chat. Not my words, not attributed to me at first. But the number was right. Dara's name was right. And there's only one person who could have known. I found out the way I find out most things. A message from Renata that just said, "I think it got out. I'm so sorry." I sat at my desk and read that message and the group chat and the responses piling up. People asking questions. People making comparisons. someone making a joke that wasn't funny, and I watched Dara read something on her phone, go still, and then get up and walk to the bathroom and not come back for a long time. When she did come back, she didn't look at me. She knows. I don't know how she knows, but she knows. People have a way of triangulating these things. She hasn't said a word to me in 11 days. Not at lunch on Tuesday, she didn't come to lunch. Not at the team meeting where everyone talked around the thing that had happened without naming it directly. Not in the parking lot when we walked out to our cars at the same time and I said her name and she just kept walking. Karen pulled me aside 2 days after it happened. He didn't accuse me directly. He asked if I'd accidentally seen anything in the drive cleanup that I might have shared. His exact words: accidental, accidentally seen, accidentally shared, and I said no. I looked him in the eye and I said no, I didn't think so, and he nodded slowly the way people nod when they don't believe you but have decided not to press it. That was a lie. The first lie I've told at work in 4 years, and it came out of me so easily that it scared me a little. Here's what I keep coming back to, the thing I can't stop turning over. Dara didn't do anything wrong. She negotiated her salary. She got what she asked for. Whatever frustration I had, and it was real, I'm not going to pretend it wasn't with her. It was with a system, with a conversation I'd never had with Karen, with my own silence over 4 years of not asking for what I was worth. And instead of having that conversation, I handed Dara's private information to someone else's curiosity and called it just talking. She had a friend at this company. Now she doesn't, and I did that. I think about the kitchen, the burnt coffee smell, the exact moment I said the number out loud and knew, even as I was saying it, that I shouldn't be. I knew. I said it anyway. And now I sit 2 feet from someone who used to tell me things she didn't tell other people, and she looks right through me like I'm not there. I don't know if what I felt was jealousy or exhaustion, or just that particular human thing where you find out something unfair and you need someone else to feel the weight of it with you. Maybe it was all of those things at once. Maybe it doesn't matter. It happened. It went everywhere. And Dara knows. I've thought about apologizing. I've written it out in my head, the full version, the one where I don't soften it or call it accidental. Where I say, I saw something I shouldn't have, and instead of letting it go, I used it. I've thought about sending that message, or catching her before she reaches her car, or just sitting down next to her at lunch like it's a Tuesday again. But every time I get close, I think about what I'm actually asking for when I apologize. And I'm not sure it's forgiveness. I think it might just be relief. My relief, which somehow feels like the wrong reason. So for now, I sit 2 feet away from her, and I carry it. What would you have done?